travel a bit to the countries I've explored and the schools or universities that I found most innovative across the globe. So basically, I started my journey in business school where I was very bored. I was a very frustrated student, and I thought, is this it? I'm in one of the best business schools in the world, and the teaching is not attractive, it's very top-down, it's not inclusive, not collaborative, and how can we change this? So with a friend of mine, we decided to create a think tank called the Edtech Tours. We wanted to explore how technology was shaping the future of education, and we wanted to explore other institutions that were, dealing with the future and changing the student experience completely. So we traveled extensively, and I'm gonna show you a few schools, a few universities that really struck me. But first we went to the whole world. We picked 10 countries across 5 continents, and we traveled, and then we continued these travels with the same think tank, Edtech Tours, and I see myself continuing this journey. I had to stop for 2 years because of the pandemic, but I wanna continue traveling and sharing these best practices. So up until now, 19 countries, 5 continents, very different countries, very different contexts. I was quite shocked because I picked these countries because I thought I would find a lot of innovations and a lot of great, interesting things. But there was one country in this list that really struck me. I wasn't ready for that. I picked it because I thought I would find a lot of innovations, but the innovations didn't really come into the school system. So in your point of view, which country was that? Do you have any idea? South Korea, I picked South Korea and Southeast Asia because I thought, Samsung and all the great tech companies, I thought, I would be mind blown by the great innovation that are shaped in South Korea. And actually, the school system is like a lot of school systems in Southeast Asia, very traditional, top-down, and based on performance, and Koreans are professional test takers. They excel in test taking, and it was really interesting to see that, the whole system is focused on that and is focused on exams, and there's a huge pressure on students. As you may know, they all go to after schools, after their formal schooling, they all go to after school, whatever their economic backgrounds and social backgrounds, they all go to these schools, and they finish very late at night, and so I was quite shocked to see that these students didn't really have the same life as students in Europe or in the US, but it's also a matter of culture, and it's difficult for me to come there and not to feel a bit blown away by all that, but there it's completely normal, and it's their culture, and education has to be like this. So yeah, and South Korea excels in the PISA scores. PISA is the international ranking of education systems. At the same time, Finland also excels in the PISA score, and Finland has the complete opposite system where kids are completely free. You have inquiry-based learning, you have exploratory learning, project-based, play-based learning, and it's all about the student, and their differences are taken into account. It's very personalized. So the two systems are completely different, but they both excel in the PISA score. And so we have to be very careful about this ranking, because in South Korea, with these after schools, students already, explore the curriculum of the year after when they go to these after schools. So when they're in 6th grade, they do the whole curriculum of the 7th grade in the after school after the traditional schooling system. So obviously they excel in the PISA ranking, because students are, cramming and studying all day long. In Finland, it's not the case, and we can see that the system is excelling in another way that I found really, really interesting. So. Yeah, the future of work is the topic of today and tomorrow, but it all starts with the future of education. We have to fix education. We have to fix our education systems for it to work, because it shapes what comes after. These statistics show that we have a lot of work. 96% of chief academic officers at US universities believe their institutions are effective at preparing students to world of work. On the other side, 11% only of employers agree that universities teach graduates the skills needed for success in their workplace. So we have a huge problem. We have a huge skills gap. 80% of the jobs students will fill in the future do not even exist today. 91% of employers said demonstrated capacity to think critically, communicate clearly, solve complex problems is more important than a job candidate's undergraduate degree. So, we have a huge problem again. So how can we fix this? From my experience, it all starts with the very lower end of K-12 education, so it starts very early, and the earlier you start, the better the results you get. So basically reinventing K-12 education, what's the purpose of schools? That's the question we should ask ourselves. It's not, in my opinion, cramming, studying for exams. It is, developing skills that are needed for today's world. And these skills are not taught in schools. I know, Alper, you're going to talk about these future skills. They are not taught in schools and universities, and that's the biggest problem, in my opinion. So I'm not saying we should transform and change our curriculum and curricula completely, but we should change the way we teach, the pedagogy. And through pedagogy, through innovative pedagogies, we can reach other skills and we can teach other skills. If you change your pedagogy entirely, like in this New Zealand school where they teach through projects, for example, you can teach skills like, collaboration, working with others, working on real-life projects. That will bring you so much more than just having a top-down class and then cramming for your exam. So in this school, in a very low-income area of Auckland, the students are from Maori backgrounds, so they don't really speak English. English is not their first language. And I was really amazed by this school that invented the Learn, Create, Share framework. It's a framework where they know that obviously kids need to learn how to read, how to write, basic skills, for sure, to succeed in life. But how they learn is completely different from other schools. They learn by creating. They learn by creating artworks or anything they want, writing poems or making videos. At the end of each course, this is the way they're assessed. They're assessed by working in groups on the project, on an artwork, and they have to create something out of their learning. They have to make their learning visible, their learning tangible by creating something out of it. And I was there when they had to work on a history project, so they had 3 hours, and during these 3 hours, teachers assessed how they worked together and how they created this amazing project for their history class on Nelson Mandela. And one of the groups that wanted to create a rap song and write a rap song about Nelson Mandela, and they started to write the song, and then they wanted to make a movie clip out of it, and they have a few iPads, and they all did it alone without any help, and that shows that you can reach learning, and retention is going to be even better with those types of pedagogies. And And last but not least, they share. So they all have a personal blog where they share what they learn to their peers, to their parents, their grandparents. They can read their blogs. And so they make their learning visible by writing every Friday a blog post about one thing they learned this week that they really want to keep with them and they really want to retain. So, this worked so well in this school. I mean, the results skyrocketed after they implemented this pedagogy that now you have 15 schools in Auckland in this very low-income area that uses the Learn, Create, Share framework. Why can't we imagine a school as a service in a city? This is the idea of Jarmo Suonimen, a service architect in Finland, and also an expert that worked at the MIT Media Lab. I strongly recommend you to follow his work. Jarmo built the school as a service concept where he thought, okay, why can't we take the city as a learning place? In a city, you have a lot of places that are not unused, that are unused during the day. You have the public library, you have the museum, you have the sports field. So why don't we use the city's capacity to create a school open air that can be used by students from specific schools? So he created a school that is very small. It's like a co-working space. It's the heart. It's the service platform, the heart of the platform. And then he imagined, third places that students can use in a 1 to 2 kilometer radius of that of that heart, of that co-working space kind of spot. And so students, it's a high school, students travel from one place to another, so they put themselves in motion. They travel through the city with their peers and their teachers. So first of all, activity, physical activity has a huge impact on your learning because you're not seated all day. And they use the public library for their history class. They use the museum for other classes. And they travel across the city, so they don't need a huge school with a huge capacity and tens and tens of classrooms because they can use the city as a classroom. And I found this concept really interesting. It started in Aalto in Finland, and now it's also in Shanghai. And Jarmo is always looking for new cities to implement this concept. Another great example from Spain called Mschools. It's one of the very few rare successful public-private partnership that I found in my travels. Mschools was created by the Mobile World Capital Foundation in Barcelona, working together with the province of Catalonia in schools, high schools, and it develops a 1-year-long program for high schoolers in all the schools in Catalonia, working on building their mobile technology skills. So for 1 year, they have to build an app. They have 2 hours, 3 hours per week to work on that project. This app has to answer a real-life problem they see in their community. It has to be useful, and they have to work in teams to develop that app, to work on, its marketing, its name, its branding, and at the end of the year, they can release it on the app stores. And they do that, they are 15, 16, and I think it's a wonderful supplementary program to their studies to also show them that technology is not just, it's not just a hobby, it's not just Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat. It can also be useful. They can have, a tremendous power with their mobile phones, and they can make something happen for their community. And so it has been a wonderful program teaching digital literacy skills for kids, 15, 16-year-olds that, spend a lot of time on their mobile phones, but don't really know the power it has to change, their community life or the life around them. So really, really powerful program. I strongly recommend to you to have a look into it. Other great K-12 institutions across the globe. I can't tell you about all of them. I don't have enough time, but I put my presentation online so you can have a look at all of these. Who knows Minerva schools? Okay, so Minerva schools, if we now go up one ladder to higher education institutions are really reinventing, the wheel, is this university that has been launched by a former Harvard dean and Stephen Kozlin. He wanted to create a university that had an extremely satisfying student experience. He wanted his student to have the best possible experience, so he created this university fully online, where the first year, it's an undergraduate program in the US, 4 years. The first year is entirely focused on soft skills. So they took the top 10 skills from the World Economic Forum. They divided those skills into hundreds of micro skills, and for 1 year, they only learn about soft skills, critical thinking, how to do collaborative work effectively, how to communicate effectively. So only soft skills training. And then for the 3 next years, they travel the globe as a cohort. So they are 100, 200 students traveling together across the globe, and they do 3 years of their programs abroad. They spend 6 months in Berlin, 6 months in South Korea, 6 months in India, 6 months in Brazil, and 6 months in London and in Taipei. And they travel the world with their whole cohort, and all the classes are online on this platform that they built internally. And they have their courses online, but then the rest of the week they can have internships. They have to have internships in every country they go to. They work in local NGOs, startups, companies for 3 days a week to also apply these skills to the context, to the local context. So they come back after 4 years. They come back and they have intercultural work skills. They have a whole set of soft skills, and obviously they studied, with one of the best faculty, and they have to choose, of course, a specialty after the first year to study in a specific school. So they come back and they have, all these skills. And now getting into Minerva is harder than to get into Harvard. They have a rate of 1.9 acceptance rate. So it's quite amazing what they achieved in so little time, because it was created in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. So I know my time is up, but I had another example called Hyper Island in Sweden. I don't know if you know this university, but it's a creative business school that really changes the way we teach business. So I strongly recommend it to you if you're interested. And I also had this line saying, is the future of education a proper school or a proper university, or is it a Edtech startup? Because Edtech startups are growing super fast, and you have lots of companies creating softwares that supplement the school and education system, but sometimes wants also to replace it. And so it's interesting to see how we can work with these startups and which role they will take in the future. Brainly, all of these startups are unicorns. Brainly is a Q&A platform for students to ask any questions they want. Once they are in their homework, they can ask a question, they have an answer in the second. By Jews is also a platform for homework and private courses, private classes with private tutors in India. Go Student has the same model, but in Europe. VIP Kids in China is an English teaching platform for one-to-one classes with English teachers in the US and Canada. And Open Classrooms is a company doing courses, online courses to teach students tech skills, marketing skills, communication skills, and micro-bit degrees, very successful too. So do we still need to go to university? Do we still need to have proper programs, 3-year-long programs, 5-year-long programs, or can we just have these bite-sized learning programs that can last 3 weeks, 6 months, and still get the skills we need to succeed in our workplace? So that's the real question. So yeah, you can go further with these resources on edtechtours.com. Thank you for listening, and feel free to come talk to me if you have any questions. Thank you.